Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Wednesday. Let's see if we can get something good today. Good morning, Chris, Corey, Greasy. Good morning, Steve, Shadow, Noel, Benton. How's everybody doing? Let's see. Let's get going here. All right. See what kind of fun we have in store for today. We have no more news today except for the 2 p.m. meeting minutes. We do have that. That is not the Fed funds rate. The meeting minutes could have an impact on the day on price action. Maybe, maybe not. Meeting minutes is simply why they set the Fed funds rate to what they did or left it or whatever. Whatever they do with the Fed funds rate, the meeting minutes is the explanation. So let's see. Let me make sure and have my financial juice pulled up. And all right. All right. So morning, Binge. Morning, David, Will. Good morning, everybody. Let's go through. As always, I start on my daily chart here. We have yesterday's high and low. Last week's high, it's a little jumbled up over here. Don't worry about that. When you drop down to lower time frames, it's all good. We're above last month's high still. Now, this is where I was talking about yesterday. If we're going to leave a fair value gap open or if we're going to have an immediate rebalance. So this yesterday, let's see if I can zoom in so everybody can see. You see the wick came all the way down here. So we had an immediate rebalance and left no fair value gap. So we may head down to this fair value gap down here. It's a possibility. Doesn't mean we will, but now I have to keep that on the possibility range. Then what I would look at is this wick, though. This wick right here. I would want to keep an eye on the midpoint right here. So 167.75. I would want to see if price can go below that. If we can go below that, then we're likely to head down to that daily fair value gap. So let's see. 167.75. Let me draw a horizontal line there because I don't want that little fib there and kind of throw me off. 167.75. Text, daily, wick, mean threshold. So I'll lock that in there. That way I can remove this little fib. Because I don't want the fib, the high line and low line to distract me or make me forget what it is. All right, so then we're dropping down to the 15-minute here. We have this big fair value gap here. All right, so we're rebalancing it completely. Here's that wick that I just marked. I don't think... Well, here's the key. We may run out this low if we could trade below this line here that I made. However, we do have a lot of clean buy-side liquidity up here, especially yesterday's high. We have some very clean. This is where we left that buy-side liquidity and then just dropped. That's clean up there. We have this area of smoothness up here that we could run up to, about 289, 290. I'd be looking at that area if we do head up. And then right now, though, we left this fair value gap and we traded up and look at the bodies, how the bodies have not closed above the midpoint. So we could be heading down. I'm a little bit neutral at the moment on my trade, and I'm still more on the bullish side overall since we did get so close to those all-time highs. I mean, 100-something points away, but we left that buy-side liquidity up here, so I don't think we run away from that too far. We could. So the key for me is this morning, I want to see, Do we get out of this big fair value gap below it? Do we trade below this line that I made here, that midpoint of the wick? Or do we invert this 15-minute gap up here and go up? So if we close and invert this 15-minute gap, then I think we're going to head up. Kind of my analysis for the morning. So now let's see if we go to the opening range gap here. We had a close here and an open there. Hitting the midpoint. And then it's 9:30. So this is going to be our first presented fair value gap right here. So I want to wait and see if we trade all the way. So we did trade all the way through. And actually, I'm going to get rid of this big 15-minute fair value gap because I'm more so looking at this line down here, even though we did trade through here. So I'm going to get rid of that, clean it up. And you see we did rebalance this 15-minute completely. We haven't closed through it on the 15-minute yet, but we did rebalance it. So I have a little bit of inversion here. We have the first presented. So we'll see what happens. It's still early. So we have our new day opening gaps up here as well. So it's likely to trade up. And at this point, I would be under the impression we may just go up. Morning, Tyler. But the thing is, I don't want to go too early and be offside. So, like, I really would prefer a 950 trade. But see, we have another fair value gap right here. We do have a market structure shift. I do like this to go up, though. I do like it. Got London low here. I'm not going in this yet because, like I said, I don't want to go too early and be offside. But it very well could be long from here. But I'm not going. Especially, I want to wait, especially because here's the thing. Look at the 15-minute fair value gap here, right? Like, yeah, we're reaching, but still, the bodies tell the story, right? So it's struggling to close above the midpoint of this 15-minute fair value gap. Very much struggling. And we haven't necessarily had a nice draw on liquidity yet. So morning, Max. Now in that first presented fair value gap. Let's see if that holds up or it inverts. So let's take a glance at the 1 hour here. We're in this fair value gap. Yeah, we might be trying to reach back down to this daily fair value gap. Because you see, we rebalanced this completely. And now we have this 1 hour fair value gap here as well. Right here, we reached up into order block, dropping. So we just really have to wait and see. Let's take a look at the 4 hour here. Same thing. Fair value gap, rebalance, coming down. Yeah. I really want to wait and see what we do at this wick, the daily wick here that I marked. And if we cross that, I would lean a little more towards heading down to this daily fair value gap. Just kind of wait and see if the market shows us something. See, this is where you could be offside. Like, that's why I said I'm not going to go on this because it's early and I don't want to be offside. I don't think we'll see if we sweep the low. I don't think we would just sweep the low and go up. We'll come down to this daily fair value gap because there's no reason for price to stop at just the previous day low, in my opinion. Especially since we got an immediate rebalance yesterday of a potential fair value gap. Since we got an immediate rebalance, I think we come down into this daily fair value gap right here. You see this little fair value gap right here, traded into a little bearish fair value gap. Especially since we right here had that inversion right there. And then we had this little fair value gap right there. And underneath the first presented fair value gap. We may be getting ready. And then you can see on that 15-minute chart, the body's closing under the midpoint. This right here, key level for me. Let's see what. 167.75. That's going to be a key area. A bearish SMT. Let's see what ES is doing. Yeah. Lower high. NQ had a higher high. Nah, I hate YM. YM is usually so uncorrelated. I don't ever look at YM. But yeah, there's the SMT here with ES. on the 1 minute. Testing that first presented fair value gap. Let's see if that remains or if we get back above it. Like I said, I'm really watching this area here, this 167.75. All right. I really would prefer a long, but need the whole because a long has more clear targets. Like that's the thing you got to remember when you're taking a trade. You want to have really clear targets. In a long, I have more clear and defined targets. Not saying I can't go short or that I won't go short, but there's just more clear targets to the long side. Short, yeah, you would have previous day low, last month's high, and then the daily fair value gap here. But that's not as clean as this up here, this buy side liquidity up here, and then this buy side liquidity up here. Like these areas are extremely smooth. And this down here was traded pretty well. It was delivered pretty well. So there we go. Now we're taking this, going through this wick. Let's see what happens here. Under the first presented fair value gap. I want to see if price comes back up pretty quick above this 167.75 or if it's going to displace and leave a fair value gap here. And then in that fair value gap, does it immediately get inverted or does it allow price to continue down? That's where I'm going to be watching. If it allows price to continue down, then previous day low would be the next stop. That's the mean threshold or the middle of the wick on the daily chart. Right here. Here's the daily chart. So this is yesterday because you can see how the body closed. at a high and low. You see how it reached all the way down and closed up. So at that point, I want to watch the middle of this wick right here on the daily chart. Because if we can trade below and close below that, then we're likely to go down and draw into this daily fair value gap there. So a wick like that, you can treat it the same as a fair value gap, the entire wick. So that's why you watch the middle of it. You see how price like reached through, closed, and is coming back up above that line. I want to see, like I said, it's a very key level for me here. So this could be a bullish order block right here. If price closes above this candle, this could be a bullish order block, and that might be what's going to send us off higher. Potentially. Remember, y'all, every time I'm saying stuff like this, it's all potentially because we have to wait for it to play out. But that's just looking ahead, trying to be a few steps ahead. That's all. So we have not closed above this bar yet. If we do close above the bar, I would look at the opening of this right here to see if this area holds support if we close up above this wick right here. All right, so I'm watching. Do we close above this higher line that I have here at 35 seconds? And I'm not concerned about this fair value gap, this 15-minute that I have here anymore, if we're going up, because we traded through it and rebalanced it here. We rebalanced it. Even though on the 15-minute, I'm showing you, we closed on the middle, but on the 1 minute, we traded all the way through it. So if we do come back up through it, then we should go, or to it, we should go through it. So I'm watching this. We're struggling to close above there. We did not close above it yet. So I would like to see if we do close above this wick here that I marked. I would like to see displacement up and through the first presented fair value gap. That way I can go long somewhere in this area if that happens. Will, yeah, hey, same here. There was many days I was done trading by this time. Like, oh man, I'm out of control. Let me stop. But you see how this 167.75 that I have marked here was a key level, and this was what I wanted to see. Whichever way it happened, I didn't care. Like, I wanted to see, does it respect it and go back up, or do we displace through it? So we closed above, right? So let me remove this. Now what I want to see is price hold some support here and at least between the body right here, if this is going to be a good order block. So basically I want to see support hold here and not trade lower or close lower than this orange midline right here if it's going to be an actual good bullish order block. Taps that first presented fair value gap again. So I would like to see it hit this, kind of have some support, and then displace up through, leave a fair value gap. That would be optimal. Otherwise, if it does trade lower and displace lower, then, like I said, we're going to go lower. But I really think this is going to be a nice bullish order block here. We'll see. No, I want to see displacement on this one, Will. Yeah, because for this reason here. Because I'm not extremely one side or the other this morning. Like, I'm not holding it as I'm definitely looking for a long or I'm definitely looking for a short. So I have to kind of just read everything. Tap the middle. Tap the middle. I mean, like, the middle is 172.50. Let's see, the low of this bar right here is 172.25. Overshot it by a tick. Let's see if that holds and displaces up now, or if we displace down. Basically, at this moment, I'm looking for displacement through this area or down through this area. Whichever way it happens, that's the way I believe we're gonna we're gonna head. Well, Max, I'm not holding like, I'm not really heavy one way or the other. I'm waiting for it to show me right now. Well, the reason why I have this one here is because this bar, this down bar, is the one that swept the all the lows here, all the liquidity. Like, this one here was still, like, we had this bar before it was lower. So this is the bar that you could see, like, swept everything below here. So that's why I have this one marked. But you can see we tapped that first presented fair value gap again, and we're heading back. We're trading below the midpoint. So we very well could be looking at displacing down. And if we do, that's where I think we'll head down to previous day low. At this point, I'm going to remove, well, we haven't closed below the midpoint, but let's see. I don't like it wicking down here, though. So, and that's why I'm waiting for displacement one way or the other. Yeah. Let me go ahead and remove that now. Yep, we got 45 seconds for 10 a.m. So because of that, you see how we're trying to push down? We might try to form a little fair value gap here. We'll see what 10 a.m. does for us. You always got to remember that, you know, some days things are crystal clear. They happen pretty fast. Some days you just got to wait and be patient. Look where the bodies are closing. Pay attention. Always pay attention to the bodies. Remember, the wicks do the damage and the bodies tell the story. And we left a very small portion of the opening range gap unfilled. And I know it's a little hard to see on my screen here, but from this high to right up here, unfilled. How big was the opening range gap? 207. Oh, we had a small opening range gap, 207 to 224. So I'm kind of surprised we didn't just go up there and fill that. And then we got so close to the new day opening gaps too, and we didn't reach up there. So, one thing I did not mark that I forgot was the midnight opening price. Right here. Here's the open midnight opening price. So basically, you can see we opened and went down. So open, low, then we may have a high and a close if that's going to hold true today. So be an open, low, and then high, close. Maybe. That doesn't always have to happen that way. All right. All right. Let's watch and see if we get this fair value gap right here. Now, I believe we're going to trade down to previous day low. So I may go short here. I'm going to let it hit this fair value gap and see if we hold. And I may go short there, have my stop above that wick high, and look to take it to previous day low. But I want to make sure we shouldn't come back up here. It got very close. It didn't get there, though. What's that high? 157. This high was, it got one tick away from getting in there, that fair value gap. Yeah. We may be heading down to that daily fair value gap. Let's see. I just want to be careful that this doesn't get inverted, but we'll see. I'm going to likely short this if it comes back to it. It may not. We may just run straight down. We'll see. Hey, Erlen. Good to see you. And really right here, if you're looking back in hindsight, this last touch, the first presented fair value gap right here, like we hit it here. We went into this one, but then we came back here, came back here. I mean, it's shouldn't at all come back up there, especially since we're displacing through this low now. And we're below this wick, the midpoint of that wick on the daily chart. I don't see why we don't just run down to previous day low, last month's high, and eventually to the daily fair value gap there. So we'll see if we come back up to this fair value gap. I would likely short it, have my stop above this high here. In 3 minutes, if price does not come back up, then we'll have a 5-minute fair value gap right here. And that'd be the first fair value gap after the open. And let's see, we'd have to wait until really 10:30 to get a 15-minute one. I don't have a real reason why price would stop right here. All right, let's see if we get another fair value gap right here. And then this would be an order block as well. In 30 seconds, we'll get that 5-minute fair value gap. So price could pull back up into this area potentially, because that's where that 5-minute fair value gap will be. Right here. So we'll see if that happens. If not, I may miss the move today if it just keeps running down. Now we have this fair value gap. I would want to see it trade up into this order block though. It might not. So if it trades up into this order block portion, it may not because this was such a nice little displacement. But if it trades up into this order block, I'll probably short it from there. 140. But it might not. It might just run down from here. Yeah. I'm probably going to miss this. It doesn't line up exactly with my model anyways. So if this thing runs out through this low and this last month's high, I mean, at that point, yeah, you can keep trying to, like, every PD race should hold all the way down to the daily fair value gap. Let's see if we pop up in this area, I may short it. Hitting the low of that order block there. I'm going short. And I'm going to have my stop right up here above this because it could trade back up here. I don't want to see it trade back up there though. I want to see it stay within this order block and then come down and take previous day low. Then we have the last month's high there. So this is about the area I'd take profit. Nothing crazy today. And once we take these lows, I'll likely move to break even. And let's see if we can get a little something here. It's just we've gotten so close to yesterday's low. I don't think we don't get there. But we'll see. It could trade back up to this one here, and that's where that 5-minute fair value gap is. So you have to be okay with taking a little bit of heat. And I have my target just under previous day low because we have last month's high right there as well. So it may overshoot and then come back up. But I think we continue down to the daily fair value gap eventually. So we'll see. Now, if we get another fair value gap down here, some displacement under these lows, that's when I can move my stop. You see, look at the bodies closing at the midpoint of this fair value gap. So I do like that. Let's expand this a little bit so we can see a little better. Yeah, I'm short. That's what I said. You have to expect price could trade it back up into this area though before going short, before it goes short. Reached up into this order block. Now I would like to see it displace down again because I don't have any real reason. And then we have that 5-minute gap right here. So it could touch that. But other than this, like I don't have any real reason for it to stop just right here. But like I said, I do expect that it could trade back up here. Now you could wait. I could have waited for it to trade back up here and then short. But then, that's a risk, right? So either way, there's a risk. You risk losing out on the trade if it would just, continue down, or you wait for it to get up here and take it, or you get in and you have to expect you could take a little bit of heat on it. Now, if it displaces up through here, this the area I don't want to see it go above. If it does, that's why I have my stop there. Then I want out. But I don't really see a real reason why price would have just stopped right here and not come down through previous day low at this point. But it could, so we'll see. I want to see an immediate rebalance here. Like wick up, hit this fair value gap, and then an immediate rebalance here. That's what I would want to see. And if I averaged in or did anything like that, this is where I'd look to add in more. But I don't do that. I got 20 seconds. I want to see it rebalance this, an immediate rebalance, or if it does form, an immediate inversion of that. And then I of course, I don't want to see this act as an inversion. I want to see it get reclaimed. In this 5 minute, that's what I was saying. It could pull back up to this 5-minute fair value gap here first. See, now we got this little fair value gap. I want to see it get inverted and then this one reclaimed. And like I said, if we do trade above this, then I just want out because we shouldn't if we're going to continue down. I do read chat A-Train, but I don't let it sway my judgment on my reads. I stick to my bias, my reads, and that's it. My money management, that's what's been profitable for me for an entire year. So all right, now I'm watching to see if this acts as an inversion or if we reclaim it. And at this point, we should not, if this is going to work out, we should not take this swing right here. So it's a key area we're in right now. And that's what I mean. I know my risk every single day. So like I don't worry about losses. Losses are going to happen. And that's why my win rate stays around 60%. If your win rate stays around 60% and your risk reward ratio is 1.5 to 2 R, you're going to make money, plain and simple. So that's when you don't have to worry about losses, But I'm not I'm still reading right now. So technically I could tighten up my stop and save 6 points, but there's no reason for that for me. So I'm just going to wait, see if this plays out, see if this holds as an inversion. I mean, it could, it could, but I still think my read was this 5-minute fair value gap. It could trade back up there. And if it does, I need to have my stop right up above this area. If it trades above it, I want out. As long as it doesn't trade above that, then we may still continue to go short. I do want to see this get reclaimed though, this fair value gap right here. So displacing back through would be very nice. And then at that point, if that happens, I can go to break even and let the trade run. And then you do have to be careful. If we do make our way back down here, you do have to be careful with previous day low because it could touch it and go back up. But we'll see. Now we haven't displaced down. We haven't reclaimed this quite yet, but at this point we traded back through the low here, so we should displace down. I don't really have much of a doubt at this point. However, if you're ever in a trade and it does something you don't want it to do or don't expect it to do, and then it comes back into a slight profit or break even, you can always get out of it. There's nothing wrong with that. Mark, my money management that's been key is sticking to it. Having a plan and just sticking to it. Like, and my money management has to, like, I have to make more on winners than I lose on losers. As long as I do that and my win rate is above 50%, you're going to make money, and you just have to stick with it. Even on days where it's tough and maybe you had a loss or it barely wicked you out, or like one of those days, you have to step back and remember, this was always my saying, my tomorrow self will thank my yesterday self for stopping when I did. And it never has failed me. Right? So like if I have a losing day, some days it's tough to just say, I call it a day. But if you do, then the next day you come in and you have a good day, like, man, I'm so glad I stopped yesterday because I recovered that loss and then made some on top of it. But if you mess up today and break your money management, take extra trades, whatever, then the next day you have a good day, and let's say it didn't recover that loss, then you're thinking to yourself, man, I wish I would have stopped when I just should have yesterday, then I'd be fine today. So like that's what I live by in trading. Well, actually in life, if you think about it, decisions have consequences no matter what. So we are struggling to displace here. So, it's not a bad idea if you ever are uncomfortable or if it struggles to displace or anything to get out of trades. But I do like how we went right up and touched to the tick the midpoint of this order block. So this could be a reclaimed order block as well. So we'll see. But we are kind of struggling to get back lower here. But like I said, I have my money management. I'm cool with it. I just like to let it, play out and see what happens. Nice, Erlen. Yeah, that's important. Now let's see if this acts as an inversion here. This little one that we did invert right here. You see that? How we went up, touched here, it left this fair value gap, then inverted it. Let's see if we hold below this. And you see that overlaps with this potentially reclaimed order block. And it might not. We'll see. Because it did struggle. Look where the wicks, the bodies are closing. So at this point, just wait. Wait and see. Now, if we do invert this 5-minute fair value gap here, then we're probably going to run up, for the rest of the day. So haven't been in profit for very much during this trade. And that's also why I don't love taking trade. Like, this is not my typical setup that I like at all. I like reversals. So, and that's why. Like, these can take some heat. Still don't see why we don't make it down to previous day low, but sometimes you just never know. Man, my sinuses are killing me. We keep getting all this weather change. 80 degrees to 30 degrees, back and forth. My goodness. Just got my eyes all itchy and slight headache. Terrible. Struggling here, struggling. Still holding in this inversion where the bodies are closing, but at the same time, we haven't reclaimed this one here. He would love to have 80-degree weather. Yeah, the problem is 80 degrees normally for us is a cold front. And at this point, I don't want to see this swing right here taken, honestly. I mean, but it's okay if it does. This is the main one I don't want to see taken back here. But I really would like to see this one not be taken. But yeah, see, and it is using this as an inversion. So this one may not, it's kind of a 50-50 at the moment until it trades above here and taps my stop. Or I want to see it reclaim this fair value gap. Yeah, I don't think we'll see at this moment right here. This is a key area. If we can displace down from here, if not, might be a loss. We'll see. Hitting the midpoint of that 5-minute fair value gap again. Failed to displace lower after it hit it the first time. So it's looking like it wants to go, but we shall see. We still don't have a 15-minute fair value gap either. So high resistance. Looking like some high resistance here. Yeah. Taps that 1 minute now. I don't think we displace at this point. We go up. Especially if we invert this 5-minute, then all those buy side targets are gonna be, and that's where I liked the long better. And yeah, see, I should have stuck with looking for a long today, Because now I believe we're going, if we invert this 5-minute here, we just had too many clean targets above. But we'll see. I mean, it's hitting the midpoint of that wick again. It doesn't mean it's going to go up. But I preferred along. But since we got so close to previous day low down here and left that 5-minute fair value gap, I just didn't see us not trading down to it. But hey, it is what it is. Small loss. As you can see, most of my winners are double this amount or more. So, yep, there he goes. Look at that. Look at that. See, and then we have the open low, and then we probably will get a high and close. We left too much between the opening range gap in this high for it to not fill. It didn't hit those new day opening gaps. So it may or may not, but that's why I was liking the longs a little better. But all good. But see, and that's what I mean. This is not my normal model that I take. I don't normally take continuations. I usually let it get to wherever it's going to draw to, and then I take the reversal to the if I have a better target on the other side, typically. So yeah, New York Times is saying Trump said he's eyeing bigger and better trade deal with China. All right, y'all. That's my trade. That's a wrap. Got a loss today, but overall, February is still wonderful and still green. I'm not gonna be streaming tomorrow, Friday, because my son has we'll be out of town. My son has a basketball tournament, his regionals for school, so I will not be here today. I'm sorry, tomorrow and Friday. So let's see, what do we have? Let's take a quick look at next week. Oh yeah, they're releasing a lot of Trump stuff right now. The New York Times is. Let's see what we have for next week. Next week, we have anything big. Yeah, we have some high impact, some medium impact news, but none of the extremes. So yeah, next week should be good to go for every day. Every day should be a nice streaming trading day. So, all right, that's my time. It's after 10:30 now. Took my trade. Yeah, this is likely to act as an inversion area now. Maybe there's still 40 seconds, but before that 5-minute bar closes. Maybe. Well, I don't know. We'll see. And then remember, we have the Fed meeting minutes this afternoon at 2 p.m. So thanks for joining, everybody. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day. If you're going to keep trading, as always, trade well. I'll see y'all Monday. Take care.